I'm going to open the Peters Township Planning Commission meeting of July 13th. Could we have a roll call?
Mr. Magrino is not here. Mr. Smith is not here. Mr. Mills is not here. Mr. Wiley?
Here.
Mr. Cartaphillis?
Here.
Ms. Corbel?
Here.
Mr. Solepis is not here.
We have the minutes in our packet. Are there any questions, concerns, changes of those minutes? Otherwise, I'd like to hear a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 8th, 2023 minutes.
Second.
The motion made and seconded to approve minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any reports or correspondence that we need to know about?
No.
Any site plans filed for review for later?
We have a couple. We have a small subdivision for the Trax family down on Sugar Camp Road, just to clean up like a little remnant parcel, nothing crazy. We have a subdivision on Sugar Camp Road for Mr. Lou Rosito to separate his house from the rest of the horse farm property. And we have another subdivision coming to us soon on Golden Eagle. So just small little things.
Okay. The agenda is approved as shown.
The only item that's being removed from the agenda tonight is item C, the recommendation for the Westbury Phase 2 plan of lots. They're going to revise that as well as Phase 1 of Westbury and come back to Planning Commission in August.
Okay. Are there any audience comments not part of tonight's discussion? Hearing none, we do not have any old business, so let's go right into the new business. The first being the recommendation for the Kirkpatrick Consolidation Plan, Maple Lane and Old Woods Drive.
All right, so Kyle and Stephanie Kirkpatrick are the owners of the property located at 28 Old Woods Drive or 197 Maple Lane, more specifically known as lots 25 and 26 in the overlook plan of lots. And they've submitted an application for the Kirkpatrick Consolidation Plan. Currently, the property is comprised of two existing vacant parcels. Both parcels are double frontage lots situated between Old Woods Drive and Maple Lane. Lot 25 is the western parcel, is about 0.83 acres in size. Its frontage on Old Woods Drive is located in the cul-de-sac of that road, and a 30-foot sanitary sewer easement cuts through the northwestern corner, roughly perpendicular to Maple Lane. A 15-foot utility easement runs through the southern side of the western property boundary to the cul-de-sac. Lot 26 is the eastern parcel and is about 0.84 acres in size. Columbia Gas and TEPCO transmission gas line with an associated 80-foot easement runs through the southern end of the property, roughly parallel to Old Woods Drive. Overhead, Allegheny Power Company and Verizon lines in an associated 15-foot easement run through the northern side of the property, roughly parallel to Maple Lane. Allegheny Power Company overhead power lines in an associated 75-foot easement run through the northwestern corner of the property, roughly parallel to Maple Lane, and a 20-foot utility easement runs along the Maple Lane frontage of the property, and a 15-foot utility easement runs along the Old Woods Drive frontage of the property. Laterals exist for future dwellings to tap into the Peters Township sanitary sewer system located along the northern side of the property. The applicant proposes to extinguish the existing lot line between the two parcels in order to consolidate them into Lot 25R, a single parcel about 1.68 acres in size. The intention is to construct a single-family dwelling for the Kirkpatricks to reside in on the consolidated lot. The many easements limit the buildable area on each lot, making it more difficult for them to be individually developed than if they are consolidated. A definitive address is not provided, as a decision has not been made regarding whether the eventual dwelling's access will be via Maple Lane or Old Woods Drive. The lots are currently conforming, and no nonconformities are created by the proposed consolidation as seen in the zoning analysis table. Staff recommends the Kirkpatrick Consolidation Plan be approved subject to the following: Peters Township Sanitary Authority approval of the plan, Washington County Planning Commission review of the plan, and the length of the minimum lot width provided in the zoning table on the plan be updated to 225 feet.
Explain number 3 to me again. I said I'm a little jet lagged, so it might be obvious.
Of course, the minimum lot width provided on the table for the proposed lot 25R was just the incorrect figure. They use it from the frontage on I think Old Woods Drive when they should have used I think they used Maple Lane when they should have used Old Woods.
Oh, okay, okay.
So you're saying the actual should be 225?
Yes.
It's not a change?
Yes,
I mean,
that's
it's
just,
not a...
it's just
just a
incorrectly
label.
identified on the law table, zoning table, we just want that cleaned up.
Okay, yeah.
There's so many utilities. This lot makes me feel like reaching down into my engine when I've dropped the oil cap. Like, you can't...
Oh, just don't touch anything you're not supposed to.
Exactly.
No, you're not wrong, Ted. It's certainly a complicated lot. Part of the reason why they haven't even identified yet which street they'll be accessing it from, and that's not an issue. I mean, that's relatively common on corner lots or through lots. We'll just determine that later down the road.
So is Maple Lane a collector street?
Neither of these would preclude them from doing a new lot of any
okay.
type.
I
So.
thought it might be. So that's not a...
But they were existing lots anyways.
But that's not a state road?
No.
Oh, okay. That was what I was thinking.
What's the property at the end that's beside it?
To the-
This-
to
is
the
that
left of
another-
where you're
Open, that's an open
Right.
space parcel.
Okay,
They're both properties immediately to the left and right are open space parcels. Other than the one around the cul-de-sac, that's,
Oh,
a single-family lot.
yeah. They call it on this.
okay. So there's no, so beside what's 197, 208, what's below the 201, the house that's there that comes off of Maple Lane, nothing can be built there?
no, that's open space
Okay.
parcel, yeah.
All right.
Open space. Open
And
space.
also on this other end here, that are to the right, then of 195 and 206, that's open space, it can't be developed
Correct.
either?
Mhm.
Correct. And when you say it's difficult, so would those lots not be able to be developed, or would it have to be an extremely small house?
I don't want to say not be able to be developed, but consolidating it certainly opens up the potential and ability to develop it
More flexibilities.
in a better way.
Okay.
And we've not seen the size of house they want to build either, so it
Sure.
could be big enough that they need a larger lot.
What's the topography right there? Isn't that kind of steep? Is that...
There's,
It's a little challenging, Ted, yeah. In addition to the easements, you've got some topographical challenges to deal with. Like Jim had mentioned, the flexibility opens it up for your driveway configuration, help you tackle that topography. It's just going to be a better situation for a new house at the end of the day.
And there's no limitation otherwise in that development on Old Woods Drive that doesn't allow for driveways on the, I see they're all on the left side of the road, not on the right. There's no limitation there. It's just a matter of what works.
Correct.
Okay.
How about any conflicting covenants or HOA things?
Not that I'm aware of. no.
Okay.
I looked through the original recorded Old Woods plan of lots to make sure, so.
How old is that plan?
2000, it was recorded in 2007. The overlook plan of lots. And these lots were part of that plan, but a little bit different. Even back then, it was identified that there's going to be some issues there. They have to do on-lot stormwater management. They have to, tap into the sewers, just kind of differently. It's just tough pieces.
Are the lots 201 through 210, are those like quarter acre?
I don't know the size of those. Maybe slightly larger.
Okay.
Just looking at them from here, they don't quite look like half an acre.
That's all I have.
Anything else, Ted? I hear an action motion if everybody's got their questions answered. Nobody from the audience wants to speak on it? I'll make a motion to recommend approval of the Kirkpatrick Consolidation Plan as outlined in the memo from Peters Township dated July 6, 2023, along with the three planning staff conditions.
I'll second that.
We have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, next item is a recommendation. It's a recommendation to the zoning hearing board, I believe, for 1024-2023 Pittsburgh Financial Consultants at 205 East McMurray Road. Jim?
All right, DSR Properties LLC, the owners of the property located at 205 East McMurray Road, have submitted an application to the zoning hearing board for two-dimensional variances at the property. Public hearing before the zoning hearing board regarding the matter will take place next Tuesday, July 18th. However, the Planning Commission is afforded the opportunity to make a recommendation on this application. The property is located at the corner of East McMurray Road and McNary Road. An unnamed tributary to Chartiers Creek runs along the western side of the property parallel to East McMurray Road and flows into a culvert at the northwestern corner of the property and continues off of the property under McNary Road. The topography is mostly flat but slopes up from the watercourse towards the eastern side of the property. It's currently improved with a 2-story office building, approximately 3,200 square feet in area, occupied by Pittsburgh Financial Consultants, and an associated parking lot. The applicant has submitted a floodplain study which determined the extent of the 100-year floodplain associated with the watercourse. The parking lot exists within this area, however, a paved parking lot is a permitted use in a floodplain. The applicant proposes to demolish the existing structure and construct a new 2-story office building, approximately 2,400 square feet in area. The parking lot will also be reconfigured as part of this project. Both the structure and parking lot will be located further away from the watercourse than currently situated. Though the parking lot will still be located within the floodplain, it will be a lesser area than the current configuration. As part of the development, the applicant is requesting 2 variances from the dimensional requirements for the general commercial zoning district. Specifically, they're requesting a 62-foot variance from the maximum front yard setback of 45 feet in order to construct a structure 107 feet setback from East McMurray Road. They're also requesting a 7-foot variance from the minimum front yard setback requirement of 30 feet in order to construct the structure 23 feet from McNary Road. The applicant's request for the variance from the maximum front yard setback along East McMurray Road is due to the presence of the watercourse. In their narrative, they have stated periodic flooding is experienced in the parking lot under the current configuration. They undertook the floodplain study to show a building being constructed within the required setbacks would be within the 100-year floodplain and susceptible to flooding. The rationale for the second request, a variance from the minimum front yard setback along McNary Road, is due to topographic concerns. The applicant testifies that the requested encroachment is necessary to alleviate grading concerns in the construction of the new building. The grading plan has been provided by the applicant in support of this assertion. The reasoning for the applicant's request for relief from the maximum required setback from East McMurray Road is sound, as strict conformance with the zoning ordinance would require the construction of the new building within the 100-year floodplain, which is prohibited by another section of the zoning ordinance. Because of this, a variance would be required regardless, and it is preferable that a dimensional variance be granted rather than a floodplain variance. It should be noted the existing structure violates the existing maximum setback by approximately 55 feet. As a result, the new structure would increase the existing nonconformity by 7 feet. However, this will enable the construction of a reconfigured parking lot with less overall area located within the floodplain. Additionally, the distance the building is set back from the floodplain will increase from 42 feet to 51 feet. For all these reasons, Planning Department staff will be providing an opinion to the Zoning Hearing Board that the request for the first variance be approved. However, Planning Department staff, in consultation with the Township engineer, have examined the grading plan provided in support of the second requested variance. It is the opinion of Township staff that the topographical challenges cited are not exceptional and do not constitute an unnecessary hardship due to unique physical circumstances. As a result, Planning Department staff will be providing an opinion to the Zoning Hearing Board that the second variance be denied. And here's some renderings that they have provided as well.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
At this time,
So can you show generally the 2 different variances that are requested? It's hard to follow. That sounds complicated.
yeah. So that red line you'll see there is the front yard setback from East McMurray Road, the maximum front yard setback. A structure, by the zoning ordinance, a structure needs to be constructed no further from the right-of-way than that line.
Okay.
The black line is the minimum front yard setback from McNary Road. Per the ordinance, the structure has to be behind that line. And both front yard is used for both because it's a corner lot.
And Ted, what Jim was elaborating on is that strict compliance here with this maximum front yard would situate the building within the floodplain, which is obviously less than ideal.
And it's already in non-conformance where the shaded area is already
Correct.
way back there.
Yes.
And they want to go from the shaded spot back another
A little bit
7
further
feet.
back. Correct.
And
But
then rotate the building.
correct. You square it off with East
Okay.
McMurray Road, but that does open up the opportunity to get a little bit less of that parking lot within the floodplain.
And then they want to encroach closer to McNary Road a little bit.
Not any closer than the building is now.
Oh, yeah, I see, okay. Yeah, that's what was getting me confused.
But at the same time, you know,
Okay.
as Jim had said, to redevelop this site, we've looked at their grading plan with our own township engineer, and you know, there's a couple feet here that they'd be encroaching over that minimum setback. We don't necessarily think that the grading is showing us a situation where it can't be in compliance on that regard.
So you're saying it could be moved without?
Correct.
Without a big imposition?
It is our opinion.
You're saying they should be
They
able to
could meet-
slide it down the
Correct.
page a little
Correct.
bit without a big
All
problem.
right, let's hear from the applicant or the applicant's.
Yeah, thanks for considering the variance. My name is
Go on
Jerry.
up, before you get too talkative, go ahead and sign in there, introduce
Okay.
yourself at the microphone,
Sure.
and thank you for coming.
Yep.
So I guess my first question is to appease the planning staff, because we haven't made an opinion yet, ours could be different. Maybe you could enlighten us about the projected plan and why it can't be moved 7 feet.
Sure. My name is Jerry Carley. I'm an architect. We worked on the plans. This is Dave Russo. He's the owner of the building and the properties. We appreciate you guys looking at the request, and we have gone through that stream study, and it's pretty obvious why we don't want to put the building up in the floodplain in it. And in order to, like Jim mentioned, and Jim, thanks for presenting. We really appreciate everything you did to help us get ready for today. Moving it back a little further allows us to get less of that parking in that flood zone as well. The 7 feet variance from there, and I'm going to walk up here because I like to point while I'm talking, if you don't mind.
Sure.
This comes across here about 7 feet. There's a pretty steep grade as you get to the back of the site, and there's an adjacent property here. While I agree that we could shift this over and make this grading work, the idea that we're right up against the property line with an adjacent owner and we're trying not the least amount of impact to that connection point is why we wanted to be pushed over a little further. And the reason we also thought that this was a viable variance request is this lot narrows as it goes back. We're dealing with 2 front yards because it's a corner lot. If we were able to actually be within the setbacks, if you slid this directly this way, we would be behind the line. But once we had to push back and the lot narrows, it caused us to push over on this side. So we felt from a design standpoint that actually the stream also, that hardship also affects the ability for this building because the lot narrows there because we had to push to the back. So we kind of think the two of them are tied together a little bit, even though I do agree we could make the grading work there. We just think it's better design and better for the neighbor if in fact we can have a little bit more room to manipulate those grades as it hits their property line. And you know, going back to the previous slide, you can see we're further back than the existing building is right now. That's a non-conforming use. It was obviously built before all your zoning ordinances went in. So that's the reason we asked for it, because we thought it was a pretty reasonable request to work with the neighbor in that way. And plus, again, that lot narrows, the buildable area narrows towards the back. Believe me, we went several rounds with Dave on how to position this building and then trying to deal with there's a lot to get into that space because of the restrictions of having 2 front yards. It doesn't leave you a lot of room to move on there. So
the existing building is 3,200 square foot footprint, and the new building you want to be
2,400 square feet, 2 stories tall. And that's mostly driven by limitation on what parking we can get on the lot. With the required, parking spaces that we need to get, which is, the main reason why we push so much further back is because if you just came out of the floodplain, the building's now right in the middle and you can't possibly park it in the back or in the front. So you had to kind of go one way or the other. So that's the, once the floodplain came into play, it was just like the building has to move back in order to get the parking in that's needed for that. So that's why we did it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so, I mean, the requirements for a variance, the legal standards for them are pretty high and very strict.
Absolutely understand that, yeah.
Yeah, and so in my opinion is that I think you have a good argument that you meet the requirements for the first variance.
Sure.
But my review of it would be that you probably don't meet the undue hardship, because it can't be an inconvenience. It can't be that it's just better.
Yeah, and we understand that, and that's and believe me, Jim and I have talked about this on the phone, and we talked about the wording of the narrative, and the biggest argument we can make, and which is the main reason we're here today, because we feel like the first one coming off the floodplain, is pretty much straightforward. It's the stream study's there. It's a hardship. Nobody wants a building built in the floodplain. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I think you make a good argument there.
And so the reason we wanted to come today and talk a little bit is because, in our opinion, the fact that we have to push the building back in order to get the parking in to meet all the other requirements of the variance pinch us on that. And that it's an improvement to the non-conforming use. We felt like the two of them could be linked if you would be agreeable to linking them as related to the first hardship in relation to the stream study.
Yeah, I mean, the unfortunate nature here is that I did this as a lawyer when I used to present. And
sure,
so
I've been in front of a lot of different zoning hearing boards, and
so,
certainly understand the burden of proof that has to happen with it.
So that's I don't disagree with you on the sense that it probably maybe makes a little more sense. But because the building size could also be just shrunk a little bit, just from meeting the standards that are required for the variance, and even though sometimes they make sense on one, it's hard to make a recommendation, at least for me, on shifting that and making that burden a little, maybe not requiring somebody to meet all those burdens for one, and then you require somebody else to meet all those burdens because maybe you just don't agree with what makes
and
sense
it's not a case of not agreeing. Again, it was a matter of we felt the two were linked at least enough to make it a presentation here today.
Sure.
And ask for your thoughts on it, and recommendation is what we're really looking for. It's going to go in front of the variance hearing board next week, and we'll be there to, if they allow us to speak on that.
I'm sure they will.
We will. But we also would be asking for your recommendation on that if that was something you could see to do.
So I got a couple questions. First of all, how many additional yards of earth would you have to move if you slid the building to be behind that? What's the impact dirt-wise?
I don't know the cut-fill impact of shifting that.
Well, I think you should probably know that when you go. But
I can try to get an estimate.
The other
on that.
question I have for you is there something magic about the 2,400 square feet that is in the
Your
building
parking
design?
requirements. The owner would love to have more square footage. The problem is we put any more square footage on there, there's not another inch to park on that site.
Okay, so what if you made the building narrower so that it would be inside on the top part and pushed it a little bit forward towards the left of the drawing there so that it could keep the same square footage, but then it would be a little bit narrower and come out closer to...
There's some other ways to shift the building in order to get that same square footage. There's obviously
that would
different
not
shapes.
take you closer to the neighbor on the left, on the opposite side there.
It becomes an efficiency in planning the building.
Because I would think you would do that then if you don't have a floor plan right now that says I need that width of building.
Yeah.
Then actually if you rotated that building 90 degrees, you could have it within that space and still have the entrance centered where you have it right now.
Yeah.
And you'd be,
To be honest, if we don't get that variance, we're probably going to either twist or shift to get behind your line, and then just deal with the fact that we may have a little bit more dirt to move or may have a retaining wall as it works its way over towards the adjacent property owner. But again, we felt like it was, the fact that we were pushed back with the stream study and the lot narrowed, that we got to a point where we said, this is where it makes the most sense, and the reason we're here is because of the stream study. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to link that to that request, but if that's not something that you guys can approve, you know, we will be disappointed, but we will also understand.
Yeah.
So in the upper, what is that, right-hand corner, what is that thing that's shown there? What is that supposed to be?
There's a small,
Where that 2 is?
yeah,
What is
these
that?
are 2 parking spaces in order to meet the requirement.
Oh, I see.
So there's 2 parking spaces here that can come in on the second level. So the grade comes up, you'll enter on the first level here, of all business and visitors, and then there's a back entrance here to an employee break area, work area.
So that rear entrance and patio is actually on the second level?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
because this site goes up quite a bit as it hits the back side of the property.
Okay.
You can kind of see it in one of those renderings there.
I see it, yeah. It was hard to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Just that, the color.
It's a tricky little site to work within.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, same as Rochelle. I mean, I'm good with I get the thing about let's not build a building within the floodplain because, you know, it's definitely going to be flooded on a Sunday evening where you're away on vacation. So that's how that goes.
Right.
But as far as the offset line from McNary Road, I mean, I think you have a few different viable options for meeting that, and it's not going to, I don't think that it would be detrimental or have a very negative impact, especially if you're looking to stay away from the neighbor. Like I said, if you change the shape of the building a little bit, and you know, you maintain the same amount of parking spaces and all that other stuff, and you can meet it. I'm excited to see that the buildings rotate a little bit. I thought when I was looking at the other plans, it's facing McMurray, but I think it will look better in that orientation. So
You're going to get a nice view from the corner. It's going to be a nice improvement
Yeah.
on that
Oh,
property, and
absolutely.
it's going to be great for Dave's business. He's a Peters Township guy. He's been here, he's in the community for a long time,
Cool.
and wants to invest in it. So that's why we've been working with him on the project.
Absolutely.
And is there a basement to this building?
No, it's slab on grade.
It's
It's
right
entry
there.
level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's what I figured, but I just wanted to ask. So.
Yeah, the back half of the first floor is kind of buried in the hill because you can come out at grade on the second level.
And is there a requirement for, what's the stormwater management for this site? I mean, you're not really, I guess you're cutting down on the amount of impervious.
Yeah, I did talk to the engineer. We have an engineer engaged that helped us with the survey and zoning, and we'll further engage them to get into a full land development plan if we can get through this variance process with an approval.
Okay.
When I talked to him, he thought we're probably going to have to we are going to have less impervious area, so we may have to install some infiltration under the parking lot to meet water quality. And we would do that either through some biofilters or a storm scepter system. We haven't designed that yet, but through his zoning review and review of the concept, he felt like that we were going to be able to handle your stormwater within your ordinance.
What's the size of this lot?
0.56 acres.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, Jim. You have it right on your cheat sheet up front.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tight. It's a tight little site, yeah. But it's a great location for Dave's business, and it's going to make a nice view from the corner.
Did you guys have anything to do with the building that's up at the corner of McMurray and Bebout?
No, we didn't.
Because I see the very similar.
Yeah, it was something that Dave has always liked, and when we started looking at some concepting, and we were just talking before the meeting whether we're going to continue with those same materials or if we're going to look at investigating some other options. That's still up in the air. But before we went much further with the planning and development, we needed to make sure this was a variance that he could get, and that we, before we spent that effort and time to get into that.
Okay.
Any more questions, Rochelle?
Nope.
Thank you.
Any last-ditch statements?
Please. No. I'm not going to get down on my knees because it'll take me a long time to get back up. But we appreciate you guys reviewing this and whatever recommendation you can make to the hearing board. We'll be back for that on Tuesday. So,
Good.
thank you.
Anybody from the audience would like to make a comment about this particular item? I have no more questions, unless you guys do. Can I hear maybe an action motion on this recommendation?
So I'll make a motion to recommend approval consistent with staff's recommendations as set forth in the July 6, 2023 with respect to 1024-2023 Pittsburgh Financial Consultants variance request, specifically recommending approval of the first variance request, which relates to the floodplain issue and
The maximum front yard setback.
for the maximum front yard setback, thank you, Seth, for the 62-foot variance, but recommending denial of the second 7-foot variance request as it does not meet the undue hardship requirements set forth in the variance requirements.
Okay.
Sorry, that was really long.
I think we got it. It all made sense.
We
to
know
me.
what you meant.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck.
Thank you, good luck.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck.
We're the nice guys.
Jim or Seth, anything for planning?
No, as we've discussed tonight, we do have a zoning hearing board hearing for this case and another case coming up next Tuesday night. And as just giving you guys updates, we finalized the RFP for the comprehensive plan update, and that went out to the American Planning Association. They have like a clearinghouse that I can put these things out on earlier this week. We've identified some consultants we're going to send it out to as well, just to get some feelers out there, but the RFP is done and it's been distributed. Application deadline is August 25th. My expectation is by November to have a consultant locked down, and then heading into 24, we'll really be hot and heavy with the comp plan update.
Okay.
So what will that be, the 24 update? Is that what it's going to be, kind of?
Yeah,
That's what you're looking
we'll
at?
find a fancy name for it.
Yeah. So-
Essentially.
And so the CR went through council?
Yes, the ordinance amendment for the conservation residential overlay did pass, and we have identified as part of our RFP submittals, trying to help us develop criteria for those moving forward.
Oh, cool. Okay.
How's the be about Valley Brook Road plan coming? Is that on schedule? The round?
The roundabout?
Yeah.
At this point in time, I'd say they're roughly 60 days behind schedule.
Yeah, don't say anything,
Roughly.
anybody lives on Bevelle.
Roughly.
Yeah, I haven't been there.
I could be wrong. I know they're somewhere between 30 to 60 days. They dealt with some utility relocation issues. It was supposed to close down on the 26th of June, and then it got pushed back to July 5th, and then it was a couple days after that. I know they're going to be working hard to get that done by the end of the year.
Okay.
I'll give you updates as I have them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest issue there is going to be once we hit bad weather. I think the goal was to avoid
Yep.
the bad weather and
Yeah,
having
once
to
we hit
cut
the
through
wet
the
season, it's going to be
neighborhood.
rough.
Cutting through that Bunker Hill, I feel bad for those people, but there's no other options.
So you, even if it be about, that's shut down as well?
Not right now.
I've been off the roads
No,
before.
you can go
Can you
straight
go there?
through on Bebout,
Can you?
but you can't turn on to
It's
Valley Brook.
it's really quite amazing because they have it all concrete barricaded, so you feel like you're on a highway on Bebout because there's nowhere else to go.
Yeah, there's no stop sign
Right.
there anymore, you just zip through.
There will be a point in time, though, where the whole
gonna
thing
be
is
the
going to
other
be
thing.
shut down, right?
I don't believe so, but
And
there will be a
they're
point in
gonna
time
be
where Bebout gets closed, the
Yeah.
other direction. I think there will always be some method of travel through the intersection.
Yeah.
You guys don't need us. I'm sure you have other.
Okay, we're
Thank you.
done. Yeah. Thank you.
Meeting
Thank you.
adjourned.